You're standing at the checkout. The total flashes on the little digital screen. It's a little higher than you expected. Probably a lot higher, actually. But you don't even blink. You just pull out that shiny plastic rectangle, tap it against the machine, wait for the little green check mark, and walk out. You didn't actually have the cash in your checking account to pay for those groceries or that new jacket or whatever it was. And honestly, you don't care. Because half the people in the exact same store are doing the exact same thing. Like literally. The statistics right now are absolutely terrifying. 49% of Americans are carrying a balance on their credit cards from month to month. 49%, half the country. And the total balance sitting on those cards, it just broke $1.28 trillion. Trillion with a T. We have reached a point where owing a faceless bank thousands of dollars at loan shark interest rates isn't viewed as an emergency anymore. It's just a bill. It's just rent you pay to exist in the modern world. People treat their minimum payment like it's a utility bill right next to the water and the electricity. It's insane. Most people think this happens simply because life is expensive. They think, inflation is up, eggs cost a fortune, rent is out of control, so obviously everyone is putting their life on Visa. And yeah, life is expensive. I'm not denying that. But the math proves it is actually something way darker. It's not just inflation. It is a mass psychological conditioning campaign. You've been trained to view high-interest debt as a completely acceptable, normal part of being a functioning adult. The system doesn't want you to balance your budget. It wants you to stay exactly 3 steps behind. Always. And look, I get it. I'm Heisenbank and I spend all day looking at these numbers. I see the trap from a mile away. But even I catch myself looking at a pair of shoes I don't need and thinking, well, I can just throw it on the card and figure it out later. It's a human reflex at this point. But today, we are going to break that reflex. We are going to look at the cold, hard numbers behind why half of the adults around you are perfectly fine being ripped off every single day. I'm going to show you how the banks trick your brain, why chasing credit card points is making you broke, and the actual brutal math of what that piece of plastic is costing you in human hours. Because once you see the math, really see it, you will never tack that card the same way again. This specific knowledge is the difference between working until you're 70 to pay off a vacation you took 10 years ago and actually keeping the money you bleed for. So let's look at the second biggest reason we got here. It's the normalization of the plastic emergency fund. Here is a number that should make you sick to your stomach. Roughly 49% of Americans cannot afford a $1,000 emergency from their savings. If the transmission drops out of the car, or the dog swallows a sock, or someone breaks an arm, they do not have 1,000 cash dollars to fix it. So what do? They use the card. The credit card has replaced the savings account. We've replaced a safety net that pays us interest with a trap door that charges us 22%. And the banks know this. They absolutely love it. Because when you are stressed, when your dog is at the vet and you're crying in the waiting room, you aren't doing the math on compound interest. You're just handing the receptionist your Chase Sapphire card and saying, please fix him. And that is how the hook gets set. Because once that $1,000 balance is sitting there, it just becomes part of the background noise. Look, I spend hours running these numbers so you don't have to. If you are waking up to this reality and you want to actually start keeping the money you make, hit the subscribe button down below. It's completely free, and it tells the algorithm that you actually care about your financial survival. Plus, it helps me keep making these breakdowns for you. But let's get into the absolute strongest point, the shock factor. The reason this normalization is financially fatal. Let's do the brutal math. Right now, the average credit card interest rate in America is hovering around 22%. Some of you have cards at 27 or 29% if your credit score took a hit. Let's say you're perfectly average. You're walking around right now with about $7,000 in credit card debt. That's the national average, $7,000. Most people look at that and think, $7,000, whatever. My minimum payment is like $250. I can afford $250. Stop. Look at the math. If you have a $7,000 balance at 24% interest and you only make a $250 payment every month, do you know what happens? I'll tell you. It will take you 42 months to pay it off. That's 3.5 years, and over those 3.5 years, you will pay $3,594 purely in interest. You are paying $3.5 grand for the privilege of owing $7 grand. It is literal robbery, and it's completely legal. If you invest $500 a month at a 7% return over 30 years, you end up with almost $600,000. The math of compounding works miracles when it is on your side, but when it's working against you at 24%, it is a financial black hole that rips the future right out of your hands. You are literally borrowing money from your future self, and your future self is charging you loan shark rates to do it. All right, back to the trap. Why don't we feel the pain of that math? Why are 49% of people just chilling with this debt hanging over their heads? Because of how the statement is designed. It's pure psychology. When you get your credit card bill in the mail or on your app, the balance might be $7,000, but that number is small. Sometimes it's literally printed in a lighter font. You know what number is huge? You know what number is bolded and highlighted? The minimum payment due. $35 or $50. Your brain is wired to take the path of least resistance. It's looking for dopamine. When you see that you owe $7,000, you feel panic. Panic feels bad, but then your eye shifts down to the bold number, $50. Suddenly your brain says, oh, I have $50. I can just pay $50 and the bad feeling goes away. It's a psychological pressure release valve. You pay the $50, you get a little dopamine hit because you handled your bills, and the bank gets to quietly charge you $150 in interest behind your back. You feel like you won, but you actually just got played. And then there's the social element, keeping up with the Joneses. We are social creatures. We want to belong. We want to look successful. And credit cards allow us to fake success instantly. You see your friend on Instagram posting from a resort in Tulum. You see your coworker roll up in a leased car they definitely can't afford. You see your neighbor installing a pool. And your brain says, I deserve that too. But here is the ugly truth about the Joneses. The Joneses are broke. The Joneses are drowning in 25% APR revolving debt. They're terrified. They are one missed paycheck away from total collapse. But you don't see their credit card statement. You just see the pool. So you pull out your card. You buy the plane tickets. You buy the expensive dinners. Because if you don't, you feel like you're falling behind. It is a status trap fueled entirely by synthetic, borrowed money. And half the country is playing this exact same game of financial make-believe. Oh, and we have to talk about the points. The greatest marketing scam of the 21st century. But Heisenberg, you say, I get cash back. I get travel miles. It's basically free money. Stop it. Just stop. Let me break this down for you. You spend $100 on a fancy dinner. The bank gives you 2% cash back. Wow, you made $2. But let's be honest, did you really need to go to that dinner? Or did you go because part of your brain rationalized it by saying, well, I'm getting points? Studies show that people using credit cards spend up to 20% more than people using cash. The friction of handing over physical paper money triggers a pain response in the brain. Swiping a piece of plastic triggers nothing. So you spend an extra $20 to get $2 back. And if you carry a balance, if you are part of that 49% paying 22% interest, they are taking your money, giving you a fraction of a penny back, and convincing you that you are outsmarting them. The banks are literally funding those free flights to Europe using the interest paid by people who can barely afford groceries. It is a reverse Robin Hood system. You have to understand how the credit card industry actually views you. If you pay your balance in full every single month, they call you a deadbeat. I'm not making that up. That is the actual industry term, because they don't make any money off you except for the tiny merchant fees. But if you carry a balance, if you pay the minimum, they call you a revolver. And revolvers are the golden geese. The entire trillion-dollar industry is built on your back. They send you targeted ads. They offer you credit limit increases the second you start getting close to your max because they want you right at the edge of your limit. Not bankrupt, because then they don't get paid, just constantly treading water. Forever. So how do you break out of the 49%? First, you have to get incredibly angry. You have to look at that piece of plastic and realize it is not a tool. It is a trap designed by people much richer than you to keep you exactly where you are. You need to switch to cash or debit for 30 days, just 30 days. Feel the pain of the purchase again. Reconnect your brain to the actual value of a dollar. Second, you stop investing while you have 24% debt. I see people putting money into a standard brokerage account hoping to get an 8% return while carrying a $10,000 balance on their Visa. The math is backwards. Every dollar you put toward high-interest debt is a guaranteed 24% return on your money. You will not find an investment anywhere on earth that guarantees a 24% return risk-free. Pay the card. Bleed it dry. We have to stop treating debt like it is a character trait or a permanent roommate. It is not normal. Just because everyone else is jumping off a financial cliff doesn't mean you have to tie an anchor to your ankle and follow them. The system is counting on your complacency. It relies on you being too tired, too stressed, and too distracted to actually look at the numbers. But you aren't distracted anymore. You know the math. You know the game. Now it's time to stop playing by their rules and start playing for your own freedom. Because being debt-free in a society where everyone is drowning is the ultimate rebellion. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. I am Heisenbank. See you on the next one.